Got Chris Long here of the Greenlight Pod, former, honestly, legend on the field, 2-time Super Bowl champion. Chris, thank you for joining me. How you doing, man?
I'm great, man. This is a super welcoming place, and got to watch practice. Team looks good, man. Looks really good.
Yeah, it was a little rainy out there. It was a little bit of a dreary day, but otherwise, I thought the energy intensity was pretty good.
We like that. A little secret is the players. Well, I don't want to speak for all of them, but definitely the big guys. We like being outside, not on the turf. We like being on the grass, and the fact that it's not 100 degrees in camp, we like a rainy day. So
it's been more mild this training camp than I can ever remember. Like, we've had a couple of days where legitimately people have worn some sweatshirts out there on the field. That's crazy.
That's great.
We're trying to get these young men ready for the heat, for the long days, and Mother Nature is just letting us down.
Hell yeah.
I've got so much that I want to ask you in particular, because you kind of overlap my main years as a football youth growing up and loving the sport. So honestly, like, going right back to your draft class, 2008, Matt Ryan changed the direction of the Falcons franchise.
Yes, he did.
You have any good Matt Ryan stories for me?
Well, honestly, ACC guy, me and Matt, didn't get to play BC because they were on the other side of the division. But I remember rooting for Matt like hell in college because they were playing Virginia Tech, which is our rival. We could never beat them. But I was like, maybe Matt can beat them in the ACC championship. So I just remember, being in my apartment in 2007, screaming my lungs out for Matt Ryan, to beat Tech, and pulling for him, and just getting to know him a little bit through the draft. We, back in the day, we used to go to Radio City Music Hall. It wasn't like, draft wasn't a different city every year. And I don't know how it is now. I'm sure the guys get to know each other, but we spent a lot of time, myself, Glenn Dorsey, Vernon Golston, Matt Ryan, Jake Long, a number of guys that were there that year. And Matt always struck me as just a solid person, man. And now, fast forward, we play against each other in the Super Bowl. And then after that, I didn't want to. And then,
Number one, how dare you?
Yeah, how dare you? I have a laptop. So you've got I was looking at your Tim Robinson sticker, which I love, and I got a bunch of stickers. I have one sticker that's got the
there you go, Jared. Good camera work.
And by the way, he's one of my producers here. Hayden's a Pats fan, so you need to. I don't even know why you're in here. And then I have a sticker that has the score, the 41-33 or whatever it is. No, that's the other Super Bowl. What was it? 28-3.
Yep.
And somebody was like, "Damn, you're not going to Atlanta with that sticker." So I had to get a Post-it note, Sharpie, "Go Falcons." I got that stuck on top while I'm in the building today.
Oh no, okay. Well, that's don't let anybody else.
I'm not yet. And then
have to burn this section.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next Matt Ryan thing is full circle. My brother works at CBS now, Kyle, and gets to see Matt all the time because he's up there with Matt on in New York, and he's on a different show, but sees him a lot. And I got the utmost respect for Matt. And he's a fantastic person. He was a fantastic football player. And I know they love him here, and they should, because he was awesome. And I always say, I know he didn't get the ring, but I felt like he did everything he could have to deliver a Super Bowl here. And, now you got another chapter that's wide open. And, you hear players openly talking about those aspirations. That means you got a program that has high hopes, and I think there's some talented guys on this team.
Yeah, that's a great way to kind of transition into this, which is, what do you make of a team that in training camp that hasn't been to the playoffs in 6-7 seasons, talking about, we got Super Bowl aspirations, we want to go win it all, we believe that we're right there. Do you buy into that, or is it a little bit of got to prove it to some degree first?
No, because you don't have to prove it first, because nothing before the year you win the Super Bowl matters. It does matter. It's experiential. Like, if you have guys on your team that accrue a bunch of seasons under the same culture or whatever, that stuff, the building
it can
is
add
important.
Up.
Yeah, but you hear the Eagles talk about this year, and they've said the right things, it's a new team. People frame it as this team won a Super Bowl last year. No, there's no more.
Yeah.
When that team's done, that team's done. It's a new team. And so everybody's starting from zero. And I think for these guys, especially the offensive guys who last year were really scary to deal with, they got to have high hopes. And if some of these young players on this defense can play well, then you can get in the dance. And when you're in the dance, anything can happen. I've been through that with the Eagles. I mean, we got in with a backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that term because it sounds pejorative, but Nick Foles isn't the backup, but he was the backup quarterback. And for us to go on that run, like, you just never know what happens. And you guys, for Michael Penix to get experience last year at the end of the season rather than trot out for the first game against Tampa, dealing with Todd Bowles' first start ever this year, that's a big thing. So they got a lot going for them. And you don't want to be one of these teams that, and I spent most of my career on these teams, the ones I'm talking about are the ones that almost have tricked themselves into thinking they have a shot.
Yeah.
You know, this is not one of those teams, you know, so I think it's exciting.
Yeah, something you've talked about on your show before is you kind of can't lie to yourself. For a lot of the guys in the locker room, like, they know. You kind of know what you're working with. And is there something that Michael Penix specifically in kind of the first stretch, they've got 4 important games right out before that Week 5 bye. Is there something he can show you in those 4 games where you're like, all right, no, like, they do have a legitimate reason this offense is going to be good, and we take them seriously?
I'm excited to see, you know, what comes off of having a quarterback who's a little bit more mobile than Kirk was. Obviously, Kirk, you know, at this stage in his career and with the injuries that he was battling through valiantly, you know, you couldn't do certain things. And so, you know, could you see more play action? Could you move the pocket more, get him off platform? I think there's adjustments with having a lefty quarterback. I mean, down to the ball looks different coming off his hands. So, you know, you want to see guys get on the same page. But he made some big-time throws last year in those. I mean, you get 2 overtime games in your 3 starts. It's like, I really think you're going to look back and say, hey, I'm glad that, not glad it happened that way, but that it happened, because this for him is like, hey, you can hit the ground running. I mean, you start with Tampa in a division game. That's a big deal to play a division opponent the first week of the season, albeit a team that I think is going to be very good with a lot of pieces in the secondary. They're trying to improve the rushers they've added. So it'll be a big test. You get them at home. What I want to see from Michael Penix is just make the layups. You know, like I think there was a couple throws where, and he'd tell you this, I'm sure, where he's like, hey, I just got to hit the target there. Yep. The big-time throws, the hard stuff, the ceiling stuff, I see it. Like, and I'd rather see a guy make those big throws than, hey, he makes all the layups, but he's not a game changer with his arm. And he made some big throws in big spots last year and down the stretch in games that are for the playoffs. And so I just hope he picks that up and rolls with it. I want to see the offense make those little tweaks to maximize what you can do.
Yeah. And last thing on the offense, and then I definitely want to get to some defense with you guys. But you mentioned Michael Turner was one of the toughest ball carriers to bring down back in your day.
It's a bowling ball.
Would you rather be going up against a bowling ball, actually a bowling ball of razor blades, as our own Dave Archer coined him, Tyler Algier last year? I think that fits for Michael Turner as well. Yeah. Would you rather go up against that or a player like Bijan Robinson, who has his own difficulties?
I'd rather play the player that I'm going to touch. Like Bijan, like there's a chance you don't even get a hand on him. He makes angles look like they're not there. You think you have an angle, you don't. The cuts are the way he cuts allows people. What it does is, like, it's not just hard in a vacuum to tackle him, but like you're approaching him, and it's in your head. Yeah, you're like, hey, I gotta break down here. Is he about to spin back behind me, or is he gonna stick his foot in the ground? And so I'd rather. Although I have the utmost respect for the guys that are like the Frank Gores of the world, I'd rather, and you see Frank Gore twice a year, but like I'd rather have a shot than play like when I used to play like Chris Johnson or somebody like that. I remember one time I looked so stupid chasing Chris Johnson, like I thought I had an angle, and that angle worked on anybody else. Yeah, but it doesn't work on him. And Bijan has nice. Right? We were talking about it earlier. Me and him. He's so cool.
He's great.
He's the coolest.
He's just like he's like a monk.
He is like a monk. But he's just one of those guys that can make those. It's like Saquon. We were talking about Saquon, some of the similarities in how they play. He not only can make that violent jump cut behind the line of scrimmage, but he can also eat up your angle at the second level.
It's like there's guys that hurt your body and there's guys that hurt your pride.
And
you'd rather take the guy who hurts your body.
Yeah.
But he does both.
Yeah, he can kind of do both. So, nice guy, but he runs hard. Yeah. That's how you want it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, Atlanta wants their defensive linemen to be doing a lot of hard running this season. They're going to be rotating. They're going to be flying off of the ball. What do you think about their two new additions in Jalen Walker and James Pierce, and actually Leonard Floyd? He's a new addition as well.
Let's just say this. I got a lot of respect for Leonard Floyd.
Yeah.
There's just guys that, playing in a smaller market myself, and, I would count myself as a little underrated, but Leonard Floyd is one of the most underrated edge guys of our generation. And I think a lot of it is because when he played in Chicago, he didn't come out like gangbusters where, it's all of a sudden it's double digits every year.
Yeah, slow start.
But it's a hard position to pick up in the NFL. And a lot of things have to go right around you. Like, I just think he's a hell of a rusher. And I think having a vet in the room helps a lot. When I went to Philly, I was on the back end of my career, but I could still rush, but one of my biggest, proudest, things that I did there was probably bring the young guys along. If you asked a young guy, like, hey, what was Chris about? Like, he gave me confidence, or he taught me this or taught me that. Like, Leonard Floyd's going to make plays here, but he's also going to bring the guys along. And not only is that good for this team, but, like, if James Pierce turns into the next stud, 10 years down the line, he'll still be talking about Leonard Floyd and the effect he had on him. So I got a lot of respect for him, and I think, Walker Pierce, it's so hard to be expected a lot of as a young rusher, because they're just going to look at the bottom line. Hey, how many sacks? How many this?
Yeah.
I want to see those guys disrupt and play on the other side of the line of scrimmage. And they seem like the kind of guys who are going to play hard. That's all you can control. And I hear Pierce is he's prickly. I like that.
Yeah.
And so you just want to see him play with that edge. And you didn't forget him, but like it was like Raheem said earlier to me. He said, "And don't forget Trice." I was like, I haven't, because when a guy,
he looked great last training camp.
He looked good out there until you see a guy in person, you don't really what he looks like. And he looked good. And so, all of a sudden you got optionality there where it's like, hey, even if one of them's not ready this year and everybody's on different timelines, somebody's going to be ready to step up. And you have a high floor player in Floyd. And Ibikite, too, who I met in Vegas at the SAC Summit, and he had a really nice year last year. So this guy's not falling. It's always closer to turning around than you think. And rushing coverage work together.
Yes.
So that's huge. I mean, and I'd say over this pass rush drought, how many years was the coverage not up to par? And we're looking at the rushers and saying, so as a former rusher, I'd just say, like, hey, it's a team game. You want to see, the Billy Bowmans of the world step up and play well for y'all this year. Little pieces like that can make a big difference for the rushers too.
Yeah, no, it is. It does all have to tie together, and it hasn't been where it needs to be. And so, you've got a lot that you're throwing at the wall, and I do think a lot of it's going to stick. And we saw a turnaround late last year where last 9 weeks of the season, they had the second most sacks in the league behind Dallas.
And it's great. And the less you have to scheme sacks up, the more you can say, hey, my four is better than your four. That's when you're really cooking. And I think Jeff Ulbrich seems like the type of guy that keeps it simple enough for guys up front. Say, hey, go hunt, man. And I'm also a big fan of Jeff Ulbrich, so I'm excited to see his defense play.
You talked about in the NFC South preview kind of keeping it simple for a young rusher, right? And you had Spags early on in your career, and that can come with a lot of complication.
He's throwing a lot at me.
Yeah, so like how Jeff Ulbrich's approach of coming in, hey, we're going to simplify it. We want you guys to play fast out on the field. Like, do you think that's going to have a quick early return and we're going to see that pay off?
Everybody's different. There's some players that think too much, or some players don't think enough. And there's nothing wrong with either one, but it's about calibrating each player to fit your system and so that they can still play fast. Like, the last thing you want is guys out there tiptoeing or trying to diagnose things as they're coming out of their stance. And, I think learning how to watch film, learning what to look for to the point where you're not overthinking things. You just hang your hat on a couple keys and you can hit it and get it. And, you know, I played in schemes like that. I played in complicated schemes. I just prefer, not because I can't digest the other schemes. It's like playing defensive line is about running downhill and running into stuff. I mean, like, it is about causing car accidents and it's about resetting the line of scrimmage. And, you know, I'm the type that wants to play blocks, but I think also encouraging the young players that, like, hey, you're going to make mistakes sometimes and there's more than one way to do it. You don't have to be a robot out here. You know, for instance, we used to say you're not reached until the ball carrier crosses your face, things like that, where, you know, you're setting an edge, but if you're just trying to be outside the ball carrier or outside the tackle, you're gonna give ground. Like, go reset that thing, play it 3 yards deep in the backfield, and make that running back bubble. And if he bubbles 2-3 yards, then your support players need to come down and knock it down because you're making their lives easier. So I don't know how they run their defense exactly, but that's how I would coach a young player to, like, hey, don't take the fast out of your game. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do it with intentionality. Do it fast.
Yeah, know your rules.
Yep.
And pick your spots. Like, hey, if the game's on the line, maybe not a good time to backdoor this block.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, you got to make a play. And you don't want to get coached out of making a play.
For sure. That was amazing. I have one last little thing for you. You said in that preview, you're feeling cagey.
I do feel cagey
about the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah. We're going to try to get you out of that cave.
We'll go open the cage.
Yeah,
let the Falcons fly.
There you go, the bird cage. We're going right on in. So I wrote down some adjectives that I'm going to try to pin you down on, starting maybe not so great, and we'll go
this
towards
is like coach
towards
speak,
the great.
But podcaster speak.
Exactly, right? We're putting words in your mouth. So let's start with, and you tell us which one you feel best about. I'll go with a bad one and then a good one, and we'll work our way towards the middle.
Okay.
Inept.
Oh, inept is like unserious. It's
there you go.
It's like there's an illusion to there's no hope there. Like, you know, like inept is like we just don't have anything.
All right, good.
Yeah.
We had to start a baseline.
Yeah.
All right, so now the other side. A force of nature. Is this team going to be a force of nature?
I don't know of any team in the NFL this year that I'm sure about being a force of nature. You know who became a force of nature last year was the Eagles, and y'all played them early in the season. You see how much teams can change.
That's true. We
right?
beat them.
And not to say it was they stunk because you beat them, but I'm saying like that defense, y'all marched up and down the field. Mm-hmm. It takes time to you can become a force of nature in a calendar year, just like they did. Force of nature, I don't know about that. We'll see.
Hurricane season comes a little bit later in the calendar. All right.
Yeah.
Bumbling. Is this going to be a bumbling team?
You know, I don't use that word a lot.
I don't either.
Bumbling. So. What does bumbling mean? Just bumbling and stumbling?
Yeah, I think it's only ever sandwiched between rumbling and stumbling.
That's like sloppy to me. Like bumbling is like sloppy.
You hear like tubas kind of in the background as the soundtrack.
Yeah, that's not good.
All right, unstoppable. It's going to be an unstoppable team. It's a little bit below.
Offensively, at times they might be unstoppable.
Okay, so we're getting closer.
If teams can't cover, you know, Drake, and if teams can't stop the run, yeah.
Is this going to be a stormtrooper team where it's like they've got the veneer of like, all right, look out, that guy could do something, but then missing shots left and right, banging their heads against, you know?
No, I mean, I could see them being a stormtrooper type team with the run game. You know, when I think of stormtroopers, I think of methodical.
Oh, God, okay.
They're just
the death march.
They're just walking down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They play that at some college games.
Good. So it's in the public domain?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Maybe for the young people, they don't know what we're talking about.
Are they going to be electric?
Yeah, they're going to be electric.
Okay.
Yeah, I can think of it. I think about this offense as being a little bit electric. And, you know, when you add and this isn't taking away anything from Kirk, but where he was physically last year, you just couldn't do certain things, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're close to electric.
Okay. All right. What about cheeky? It's going to be a cheeky team.
No, because I think about cheeky teams as being like a little bit undermanned and like they're slick.
Yeah.
You know, I think y'all got the pieces.
Okay. So competent. Yeah, that's a good place to land. Competent and electric, somewhere in there.
Well, you got to be competent if you want to be electric. You got to walk before you run and that sort of thing.
Okay, last one then for you. Must watch. Is this going to be a must watch team?
I think they are going to be. I know y'all have some primetime games this year.
Yeah.
I hear that
Five,
Buffalo and there's some big games. So that to me says you are a little bit must watch. A lot of the Falcons games that I've seen are fun, and Falcons fans will tell you because I love Atlanta sports fans. They're very self-aware,
Yeah.
and they also have a healthy cynicism.
Yep.
But it's kind of like there's no bad Atlanta sports game. They're all interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's why we're so cynical, because we've seen the mountaintop. We've seen what, and then it's kind of like, all right,
I know. Must watch.
Well, this is a must-listen podcast. I really appreciate you joining me. And honestly, please go check out the Green Light podcast. It is one of the ways that I've gotten smarter about football.
I appreciate it.
Started with you and Rosillo back in the day.
Rosillo.
It's been cool to see like your growth and journey as a podcaster. So congrats.
Thanks, man.
Another thing you've accomplished. And again, thank you so much for joining.
Well, hope we come back, man. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.